If you've been paying attention to Donald Trump over the past 9 months, if you've watched him speak or listened to him even briefly, you've likely noticed what many people are now openly discussing: clear signs of mental decline. No amount of makeup on his hands, no frantic attempts to hide his ankles, and no strategy where his team writes speeches while he sits looking dazed and exhausted can cover that up. We see what's happening, Donald Trump, whether you want us to or not. And it's not just public observers pointing it out anymore. Claims about Trump's deteriorating cognitive state are now being talked about openly, including by someone from his own family. We're going to get into who made those remarks and what they said. But before we do, if you could leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already, it really helps support the channel. Now, before we dig into the family members' comments about Trump's alleged cognitive issues, I want to start with my favorite clip highlighting these concerns, and surprisingly, it aired on Fox. It's too good not to revisit.
Or anything, but all right, so I do have a question. I tried to get an answer out of you on radio. Okay, the question is, when did you notice Joe Biden's cognitive decline? And don't change the subject and deflect. When did you really notice it?
Well, I think it was through all of the times that Donald Trump has fallen asleep in public and talked about, magnets getting wet in the last few,
oh my gosh.
My mom had dementia, so I recognize it.
Stephanie, this is not, it's a very good deflection. You're a professional.
You know what else is great
You're
about Biden's decline is that Trump is all over the Epstein files, and I'm wondering if they're going to release those. Are you covering that tonight?
Not really, because the woman that apparently they're talking about is the one that said he was a gentleman and never did anything wrong. And the person that had a grudge was the guy that got thrown out of Mar-a-Lago 25 years ago. And by the way, when you get thrown out of a club in Palm Beach, Florida, that's kind of a big deal. And it's very humiliating and embarrassing. And he was a convicted pedophile. So I'm not exactly putting a lot of gospel truth in what he said.
Trump was mad that he was stealing his girls, but
It is really funny to see the way that Fox is trying to save Donald Trump, but especially in the context of using Joe Biden as a distraction to say, well, we have to, in the year 2025, talk about and relitigate Joe Biden's cognitive state when Donald Trump is actively melting down before our very eyes. Like that McDonald's speech with him doing like plain demonstrations and talking about the flaw and the flea and the words and the sound, and none of it made sense. And that's every Donald Trump speech at this point. None of it makes sense that we'd be talking about Joe Biden. Just goes to show Fox is living in their own reality. But some Republicans are actually crashing down to this reality. They're talking about Donald Trump in his state. We got to take a look before we get into the diagnosis from Trump's family member. He sounds exhausted. Trump's mental health, reportedly so bad, MAGA dired speaking up. President Donald Trump's MRI and rumors about his health are what pushed the Epstein vote in Congress in analyst reports. For many people, the sound of Trump's voice can be unbearable. But it is worth enduring to hear the unsubtle note of desperation when he pleads with his own voters and allies to drop this whole Epstein matter. This feels like tempting fate to write. But a full decade into this nightmare, it seems like Trump's power over his MAGA movement is starting to weaken. Ahead of the Epstein vote on Tuesday, Thomas Massie reminded Republican lawmakers that Trump would not be president in 2030, although Trump has floated the idea, of course, of a third term, which would be illegal. Ivor would remind my colleagues that his vote is going to be on your record for longer than Trump is going to be president, Massie said. As MAGA infighting unfolds with loyal follower and top supporter Marjorie Taylor Greene publicly feuding with the president, the future leader of the movement is unclear. But Donald Trump, of course, is looking awfully weak these days, and his coalition is starting to crack as various MAGA actors position themselves to take advantage of an anticipated power vacuum. Trump appears to be falling asleep during televised events. He also refused to explain his MRI and why his doctors ordered the test for him. All this leads to yet another reason to endure the sound of Trump's voice in recent days. He sounds exhausted. With all that's been going on, the Epstein vote, the economic numbers, his polling, Democrats' drubbing of the GOP in recent elections, it's hard to imagine he's feeling good these days. Even Republican analysts are starting to recognize that the wheels are coming off or have long come off for Donald Trump. But MAGA is starting to recognize his weakness. They are starting to take him on. They are challenging him in Congress, challenging him in the Indiana gerrymandering battle. They are challenging Donald Trump all over the place because they know not only will he soon be gone, but he's already gone. And so, it's time for them to assert themselves that they care about their future and the party they're trying to redefine. And of course, not redefine in a positive way, but redefine around them. But as to Donald Trump already being gone, well, someone in his family is really sharing the medical details. Trump, 79, has dementia just like his dad, Trump's niece. Mary Trump did not hesitate when asked why she believes her uncle, President Donald Trump, is in cognitive decline. In a searing interview on the Daily Beast podcast, the daughter of Donald Trump's late older brother, Fred Trump Jr., laid out the clearest case she's ever made that the president is exhibiting the same signs she once saw in her father, Fred Trump Sr., who had Alzheimer's for a very, very long time. The elder Trump was diagnosed with mild senile dementia in 1991. His physician cited symptoms of obvious memory decline in recent years and significant memory impairment. He was later hospitalized with pneumonia and died at age 93. The conversation began when the Daily Beast chief content officer, Joanna Coles, pressed Mary on the family history of dementia. Mary's grandfather and grandmother both had it. Mary explained that she is a clinical psychologist, not a neuropsychologist, but she knows enough to assess certain kinds of neurological disorders. When she sees in her 79-year-old uncle, she said, is unmistakable. There are times I look at him and I see my grandfather, Mary said. I see that same look of confusion. I see that he does not always seem to be oriented to time and place. His short-term memory seems to be deteriorating. Trump's lifelong impulse control problems, she added, are also deteriorating as well. Mary described watching Fred Sr.'s decline beginning in the early 90s. Small lapses that escalated into larger ones by the time the family began spending Easter at Mar-a-Lago to keep him out of public view. She said he was no longer recognizing people, including her. She recalled standing with him when he stopped knowing who I was. He politely asked another Trump, his eldest daughter, "Isn't she such a nice lady?" pointing to his granddaughter before turning to Marianne again and asking, "And who are you?" The deer-in-the-headlights look he often had during those years, Mary said, is the same one she now sees in Donald Trump. Donald Trump's nephew, Fred C. Trump III, said last year that he fears a similar path for the president. Like anyone else, I've seen his decline, but I see it in parallel with the way my grandfather's decline was. Fred, 61, told People, "If anyone wants to believe that dementia did not run in the Trump family, it's just not true." Coles asked how Donald Trump handled his father's illness. He was despicable. Mary said he treated my grandfather like he was an annoyance. He wanted nothing to do with him, even though her grandfather never forgot Donald. She said her uncle would leave the room. He would ignore him. He had no use for him whatsoever. Mary argued that what she sees in the president today mirrors her grandfather's unraveling a growing obsession with money depending deepening insecurity and what she described as a collapsing ability to uphold the persona he has projected his entire life. Trump, who is repeatedly mused about getting into heaven or not, is battling with his mortality. Mary claimed he seems deeply uncertain. He seems to be reckoning with the possibility that he may not be immortal after all. And that to me suggests that his defense mechanisms around preventing himself and everyone else from acknowledging the reality about him are weakening. His style of communication, too, is an indicator of something dark. She added, "I see this look in his eyes sometimes, like he can't believe he said this. He can't believe he admitted this thing. He doesn't know who he's talking to. He doesn't know where he is." Mary Trump has said out loud what many people have been pointing to for a long time. She claims that Donald Trump is showing serious signs of cognitive decline, which she characterizes as dementia. And none of this is surprising when you look at how he's been talking recently. As he rambles about heaven and hints at uncertainty about his future, he's also desperately trying to cling to whatever power he has left. But those attempts are falling apart. He's losing influence not only among MAGA members in Congress, but also within the broader MAGA base. His polling numbers are some of the weakest he has ever seen. And all of Trump's efforts to rescue himself and his party keep collapsing. His attempt to push gerrymandering in Texas failed. His attempt to force gerrymandering in Indiana was flatly rejected. So now he's resorting to attacking the 2020 census, calling it rigged and illegitimate, despite the fact that he was president at the time, which he appears to have conveniently forgotten. Congressman Jamie Raskin broke down all of this and explained how Democrats are winning these battles in the clip we're about to look at.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. I appreciate it. The call for a census in Article 1 of the Constitution plays an essential role in our democracy, guaranteeing for centuries that there will be an appropriate allocation of House seats and districts of equal population within each state. President Trump's extraordinary mid-decade partisan gerrymander offensive has hit major roadblocks recently in California, in Utah, and in federal court in Texas. But his forces have continued on their path of destruction and are now targeting the 2020 census itself as a way to tear up the political map of the country. This week, President Trump released this telltale statement on social media. "This all began with the rigged census," he said. "We must keep the majority at all costs. Republicans must fight back." So what a syllogism we're offered. Because Trump must keep the majority at all costs, therefore the 2020 census was rigged. This is lunacy. It's like saying because Trump had to win the 2020 election, he really wanted to win it, therefore the election was rigged and he won it. And that's just derangement. The 2020 census was not rigged. A 2024 report by the Government Accountability Office reviewing the accuracy of the census found that the accuracy of the 2020 national population count was consistent with the previous census, while the Bureau's post-enumeration survey estimated statistically significant net coverage errors in certain regions and states. The accuracy of the count was overall consistent, and overcounts and undercounts at the margins are nothing new.
Donald Trump is taking a brutal loss in this fight. He's steering the Republican Party straight toward what could be one of the most disastrous midterm defeats in modern history. And honestly, that puts a big smile on my face. Because we're going to be here covering every step of it and making sure the truth gets out. If you want to support that, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you made it all the way to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.